Okay, this is notes 1.4, finding limits from tables. So it says a calculator is required for this part of the lesson. Okay, so notice that statement hasn't popped up on every single lesson, which means if you recall for the AP exam, you will not always have access to a calculator. There is a calculator section and a non-calculator section. So this one says if we have the graph, it is easy to see the value of the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x. So again, looking at the graph, here is 3. I look from the left and I look from the right, and they are both approaching 4. So my answer is 4. Without the graph, we could use a table of values. So here's my table of values. I need to find 3, and I notice that 3 is right here in the middle. Okay, so this is x equals 3. Okay, and since my values are small enough, I'm able to look at my f of x values and notice that between the gap of 2.99 and 3.01 is 3, so between the gap of 3.99 and 4.01, it must be 4. According to the table, what is the value of the limit as x approaches -4 of f of x? Okay, so -4 is between these two values. So if we look at our f of x values, it looks like it's going to be 2.5. So the limit as x approaches -4 of f of x is equal to 2.5. Again, we can only do this because the values on the table are very, very close together. Notice how it's going from 4.001 to -3.999. Okay, they are only decimals away from each other. Number 2 says if f of x is equal to x cubed minus 4x squared minus 7x plus 10, all divided by x plus 2, create your own table of values to help you evaluate the limit as x approaches -2 of f of x. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is in the middle of my table, I'm going to put -2 because that's the value I'm trying to find. We already know that if I was to plug in -2 into the problem, I'm going to get something that is undefined. Why? Well, -2 plus 2 gives me 0, and I can't divide by 0. Okay, that's why it's undefined. So for this one, I want you guys to round to 3 decimal places, because this is standard for the AP exam. So what we could do is we could either graph this and pull up a table, okay, or we could use function notation and plug in values very close, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to plug in -2.001, -2.01, -1.999, and -1.99. Okay, let's see if I am able to pull up the calculator with it right here. And again, I'm using my son's iPad, so give me 1 minute. Okay. I was trying to do it side by side, but that's okay. This will still work. Okay, so I have my function. So I have x cubed. So let's first put in the fraction bar. So I have x cubed minus 4x squared minus 7x plus 10, and then all divided by x plus 2. And then let me put f of x in the front. Okay, so now that I have that function, I should be able to just type in x equals -2.01. Okay, that's not doing what I want it to do. Okay, now let me try that again. X, where's the equals negative 2.01. Oh, maybe let me try this. Okay, so I am using a TI Nspire CAS application on my iPad. If you want to have this for home, I believe it was $30 on the App Store. Negative 2.01. Okay, this is what I wanted it to pop up. Okay, so this is perfect. So notice that when I plugged in negative 2.01, I got this value. And so I can do that again. See if I can copy that and then go and put in another 0. Okay. I'm going to paste that again, and now I'm going to put negative 1.99. 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to do just 2 9s this time. Okay, so that's how I get all of my values here. Okay, so let me just write this down real quick. So I'm going to go back to where we were. Okay. Okay, so back to this. Okay, perfect. So here I'm just filling in the values that I got. And I went around to 3 decimal places. So I got 20. There we go. I got 21.100. Okay, that's 3 decimal places. Then I got 21.010. And then I got 20.990. And then 20.991. Or sorry, 20.901. Okay. So now we clearly see that as x is approaching negative 2 from both the left and the right, the function is going to approach 21. Okay, and so again, how I did this on the calculator, and I want to write this off to the side, is I typed in f of x, and then I defined as a function. After I define it as a function, that is when I'm able to do f of the value to get an answer. Okay, and that's what I was continuously doing. He says several ways to find values of a function on a calculator. Here are 2. So we kind of talked about both of these, and this is the one that we did using the calculator. And then lastly, number 3 says the function f is continuous and increasing for x greater than or equal to 1. The table gives values of f as selected values of x. Approximate the value of the limit as x approaches 2 of cosine of f of x. Okay, so this is a composite function. So in order to solve a composite function, the first thing we need to do is just look at the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x. Okay, so 2 is going to fall somewhere right here, which means that from the left and the right, they're both approaching the value 5. Okay, so equals 5. Once we have that value, our new limit is going to be approaching that value. So the limit as x approaches 5 of our outside function, which is cosine x. Okay, so in order to do this, we're just going to do direct substitution. So this is cosine of 5, which is approximately 0.284, because we went around to 3 decimal places.